People love the idea of serendipity, the accident, the coincidence, the I wasn't even trying and it just happened. We romanticize it like crazy. Meeting the right person by chance, finding your purpose randomly, success just falling into your lap. And I get why people like that idea. It's comforting. Because if life works on serendipity, then your lack of progress isn't your fault. It's just not your time yet. That's the dangerous part. I think we've turned serendipity into an excuse to stay passive. We sit around waiting for life to surprise us instead of actually doing anything uncomfortable. Waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the right opportunity. And we call that patience. But a lot of the time, it's just avoidance. I've caught myself doing this, telling myself things like, maybe it'll happen naturally, or if it's meant to be, it'll find me. That sounds deep, but it also keeps you stuck. Because real life doesn't reward waiting, it rewards movement. What people don't talk about is how selective the serendipity stories are. You only hear about the lucky moments that worked out. You don't hear about the thousands of people who waited for a sign and got nothing. Nobody interviews them. We act like chance is a strategy. It's not. Chance doesn't care about you. Chance doesn't owe you timing or clarity or meaning. Most lucky people weren't just sitting around. They were already in motion, already failing, already showing up, already doing something. And then chance intersected with effort. That part gets edited out of the story. I think the internet made this worse. We see highlight reels of people saying things like, I never planned this, or it just happened. And we internalize that. So when our life feels boring or stalled, we assume something's wrong, like we missed our moment. But maybe the moment never comes unless you force friction. Serendipity loves action. It hates comfort. You don't stumble into growth by staying where you are. You don't accidentally build a life by scrolling and waiting. I also think serendipity can become a coping mechanism. When you're scared to commit, you tell yourself you're open to whatever happens. When you're afraid of rejection, you wait for things to align naturally. When you don't want to fail publicly, you rely on fate privately. And it feels mature, spiritual, detached. But underneath it, there's fear. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of trying and still failing. Fear of realizing that nothing magical is coming to save you. Serendipity sounds nice because it removes responsibility. If it works out, it was meant to be. If it doesn't, it wasn't. Clean, comforting, wrong. I'm not saying serendipity isn't real. It is, but it's rare, unreliable, and completely uninterested in your comfort. Basing your life on it is like refusing to steer because you hope the road bends the right way. I think a lot of people confuse surrender with passivity. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting without guarantees. And that's the part people skip. They want the magic without the risk, the coincidence without the discomfort, the outcome without the awkward middle. That's not how it works. Looking back, the few serendipitous moments in my life only happened because I was already uncomfortable, already exposed, already moving, not because I waited. And that realization kind of ruined the fantasy for me. Because it means if nothing is happening, it's probably not fate. It's inertia. And that's harder to accept. Here's where serendipity gets dangerous. It doesn't ruin your life loudly. It ruins it quietly. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm wasting my potential. You just keep telling yourself, I'm waiting for the right moment. And suddenly, years pass. I think a lot of people are stuck not because they lack talent, but because they outsource their agency to fate. They're waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for clarity. But clarity usually comes after action, not before it. Serendipity gets romanticized because it removes the awkward phase, the phase where you're bad at something, where you get rejected, where you look stupid trying. We skip that in our heads. We imagine the perfect accident where everything clicks without effort. But real life doesn't skip the middle. It makes you earn it. I've noticed something uncomfortable in myself. When I tell myself, if it's meant to happen, it will, what I'm really saying is, I'm scared to force it. Scared to pick the wrong path. Scared to invest and lose. Scared to put my name on a decision. So I stay flexible, open, non-committal. And that sounds wise until nothing grows. Because growth needs pressure. It needs constraint. It needs commitment to something even when you're unsure. Serendipity without effort is just fantasy. Effort without guarantees is reality. People also misuse serendipity to avoid responsibility for outcomes. If something fails, it wasn't meant to be. If a relationship dies, the universe had other plans. If a dream fades, it wasn't aligned. Those phrases feel peaceful, but they can also be a way to avoid grief, avoid regret, avoid the hard truth that sometimes things fail because we didn't try hard enough or long enough. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But blaming fate keeps you from learning. I think that's the real cost. You stop reflecting. You stop asking, what could I do differently next time? Because fate already decided, right? Wrong. Life doesn't care about alignment. It responds to repetition, to showing up again, to awkward conversations, to boring consistency. Serendipity might open a door, but you still have to walk through it. And most people don't, because walking through it means leaving the comfort of maybe. I've also realized serendipity only helps people who are already visible. You don't accidentally get noticed while hiding. You don't stumble into connection while isolating. You don't magically change your life from the same routine. Chance needs exposure, risk, movement. So when people say, just let things happen, I think that advice is incomplete. Things don't just happen. They happen to people who are already in motion. Waiting isn't neutral. It's a choice, a quiet one. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. Because then you're not just afraid of failing, you're afraid of realizing you waited too long. That fear keeps people frozen. And serendipity becomes the excuse that sounds nicer than fear. I'm still wrestling with this, because part of me wants to believe something meaningful will find me without me having to force anything. But another part of me knows that belief has kept me comfortable for too long. And comfort rarely leads anywhere interesting. I don't want to end this by telling you what to believe. I'm more interested in how you actually live. So I want to ask you something honestly. How much of your life right now is built on waiting? Waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for a sign, waiting for things to line up. And how much of that waiting has actually paid off? Have you ever looked back and realized the opportunities that changed your life only happened because you forced yourself into uncomfortable situations? Or are you still hoping something will just fall into place? I'm also curious how you personally define serendipity. Do you see it as luck, fate, timing? Or do you think it's just effort meeting opportunity, and we romanticize the rest? And if you're being real with yourself, has believing in meant to be helped you move forward or given you a reason to stay still? I'm not judging either way. I'm asking because I don't have a clean answer. Part of me still wants to believe that life will meet me halfway. But another part knows that if I don't move first, nothing changes. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever waited for a sign that never came? Or did acting without certainty end up changing everything? Drop your thoughts. No motivational quotes, no pretending, just real experiences. Because I think a lot of us are quietly stuck between trusting life and avoiding responsibility. And we don't talk about that enough.